Okay, so in our last video we talked about conceptually how to calculate the mean and the variance and the standard deviation. So in this video we're going to do an example together. So here is the data that's been given to us. So this is our random variable x, and it takes on these values 2, 4, 7, and 8. And then here are their relative frequencies. Right, that's the f of x. So these also equal the probabilities for each of these values for the random variable x. So together this makes up our probability distribution. So because probabilities sum to 1 and so do relative frequencies, we should just double check to make sure that it sums to 1, and it does. So if we go back to our equation for the mean, right, it is equal to our values of x times by the probabilities, which are their weights, summed together. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to take our values of x, we're going to multiply them by their probabilities, and then, right, we are going to sum those together, right, equals sum, and it comes to 5.2. So this is our expected value, or our mean. And remember from the equation for the weighted mean, right, it's just the sum of the x times by the weights, the x's multiplied by the weights summed together, and then divided by the sum of the weights. So that's what we're doing. We took the x's times by their weights, and then we summed them together. So you might be wondering, well, we got to divide by the sum of the weights. So remember, the sum of the weights right there is 1. So really we're just dividing by 1, so we don't necessarily have to do that. But if you wanted to do that extra step, you can. But right, 5.2 divided by 1 is just going to be 5.2. So let's continue with this example to calculate the variance and the standard deviation. Right, so the variance and the standard deviation is going to tell us typically on average how far do values fall from the mean. So the first thing we have to do is we have to calculate how far each value is from the mean. But remember, we have to put the dollar signs because we want all of these values to be from this one cell. We don't want it to change. So the dollar sign does that for us. So watch when we drag and drop, right, what happens is the x values change, but the mean doesn't. So now we have that. And then remember, we're going to have to take these values and we're going to square them. And we're going to do that for each of those. Right, and then remember from our equation, for the variance, right, when we take those values, the differences from the mean, and we square them, then we multiply by their probabilities, right? So we're going to take those values that we just calculated, we're going to multiply them by their probabilities, the function of x, right, the weights, right? And then we're going to do that for all of them, right? And then the last part, remember, we need to sum those. So equals the sum of those, right, equals 4.56. And then if we take the square root, SQRT, of that, of the variance, it gives us our standard deviation. So we have our variance, our standard deviation, and our expected value for a discrete random variable.